everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Navy Nurse. Today I'm going to talk to you about my experience just starting out in the ICU as a Navy nurse. So I'm still stationed at the U.S. Naval Hospital, Okinawa. So you'll hear me talk a lot about that just because that's my experience right now and that's where I'm at. So anyway, I just started brand new working in the ICU. I was basically a Med-Surg nurse. I started out doing telemetry at Walter Reed in Bethesda, Maryland. And that floor, it was like a cardiothoracic floor. Anyone who was post-cabbage coming from the ICU would come to us. Anyone, I'm talking about in the entire hospital, who had chest pain would come to us as well. So we would also take overflow Med-Surg patients from the other Med-Surg floors. And at that time when I worked there, we were the only floor that had telemetry. So basically anyone who had to be on monitoring would come to our floor. It was only at the end, I'd say about 5 months before I left Walter Reed, that other floors started getting telemetry monitoring. So I worked there for 3 years and then I came to Okinawa. So this is only my second duty station as a nurse. I came here to Okinawa and I really wanted the ICU, but at that time they weren't training brand new ICU nurses. So I ended up going back to a Med-Surg floor, but this one was way different from the Med-Surg floor that I worked on at Walter Reed. This one is a multi-service ward. So we take care of babies, like infants, all the way up to geriatrics. Anyone who is not critical enough to go to the ICU, anyone who doesn't need to be on telemetry because the multi-service ward does not have telemetry, and anyone who, is post-op, like lap appendectomy or any type of surgery, who is basically not critical enough to go to the ICU, they will come to us. And also we took care of the overflow postpartum patients from the labor and delivery and mother infant care center. So that's what I was doing for a year and a half, and I kept asking if I could transfer to the ICU at my midpoint at being at U.S. Naval Hospital, Okinawa. So when I say midpoint, I mean I have 3-year orders there. So the halfway mark is when usually commands, hospitals, clinics, they will let you transfer to a floor if staffing allows it. And mission needs allows it as well. So I finally got to go to the ICU. Like I said, I've only been there 2 weeks, so I am still on orientation. My orientation period will be about 12 weeks. So something here, and really with a lot of military hospitals, the acuity level of an ICU is not as high as the acuity level in a civilian hospital. So a couple of reasons for that is because just your population, military hospitals aren't serving the general population. We're really just taking in or seeing active duty military, their dependents, any contractors, GS employees that have TRICARE or who happen to be a dependent, and then people who have access to TRICARE. Those are the only people that military hospitals will see, with the exception of Guam. I know Guam has a higher acuity level because they see everyone, civilian and military, on the entire island. So the reason I bring that up is, yes, I'm being trained in the ICU. However, the acuity level isn't as high. Thus, I need to do a little bit more training, right, to understand concepts, because we don't have the patients. We don't have a ton of patients on vents or who need invasive monitoring. Most of them are are just sicker than what the Med-Surg floors can handle. So that's a con of being trained in an ICU here at U.S. Naval Hospital Okinawa. However, a pro to that is it's slower, so I have time to learn. I have time to understand the concepts of working in ICU. So I am just happy that I'm there. I will try and work with the most sick patients and with the higher level acuity patients that we do get, so I can learn as much as I can before I rotate out. So just some tips on working in the ICU for the military, or not tips, but just information to give you if you want to be a critical care nurse in the Navy. Obviously, if you already have experience, the way the Navy is right now, they are hurting for ICU nurses. They really want experienced ICU nurses. So if you are a critical care nurse already and you want to join the military, I don't think that you will have any problem keeping your critical care background and still becoming an ICU nurse in the Navy. The last time I looked, the critical care community was only about 70% manned. Don't quote me on the percentages because they change. But because of that reason, there are bonuses for direct accessions, meaning you come into the military as a critical care nurse, and also for ICU nurses, ER nurses, anyone who's critical care, to re-enlist if you already are in the Navy. So I know there's one right now in a re-enlistment bonus for $30,000 if you stay in the Navy as an ICU nurse and you stay in the Navy for 6 more years. So what that means is you would have to stay in the critical care community. That means you couldn't go to CRNA school though. So if you want to be a CRNA, I don't recommend signing that bonus, because you have to stay just an ICU nurse, not a CRNA, which is considered a practitioner at that point. However, if you do want to get a graduate level degree and have the military pay for it, there's a program called DUINS, and I did talk about that in one of my other videos. It's called Duty Under Instruction. The Navy will pay for you to get your graduate degree if you are accepted into the program. So the only program that you could still get your graduate degree and sign on for that bonus for 6 years would be ICU CNS, or Clinical Nurse Specialist. So just FYI, if you are interested in that or wanted to do that, then that's a little information on that. I don't know how long they're going to offer that bonus, but like I said, the way the Navy is looking, we're trying to go more deployable ready, more critical care minded. So they want critical care nurses. So anyway, the ICU here, like I said, is low acuity. However, it is still an ICU. You still get patients that you would get in any type of ICU setting. It's just the volume isn't that high. So I am loving it. I am soaking it all in. It's definitely different from Med-Surg. I have time to really dig into the pathophysiology of what's going on with my patient. Learn more about the drugs, what they do in the body, the half-life, especially drugs and drips for blood pressure, pain management, sedation, that type of thing. The other cool thing about working in the ICU here is you get a little bit different type of training. So we also work as a PACU, because here the PACU nurses, most of them are civilian, and they only work Monday through Friday, like 7 o'clock in the morning to about like 17:30 in the evening. So because of that, if there are add-on cases or recoveries that go past 17:30 and into the evening, then the ICU does the recoveries. And we're in the process of trying to certify all of our nurses to consciously sedate patients as well. So one thing I will say about the military is where it lacks in its acuity, it really increases. It gives you lots of training opportunities. Something about the military is you will definitely get a lot of certifications. For example, I have my, of course, BLS certification, ACLS, PALS, NRP, Stable, TNCC. We just get so many chances to train, and also because of the population, the ICU here, we also take care of babies all the way up to geriatrics, just because it's a smaller hospital. There is a NICU, so any NICU type patient will go there, but if it's an infant who has already left the hospital and got sick, then the ICU, we take that patient and take care of them. So there are lots and lots of opportunities to kind of get out of your comfort zone and train and learn how to be kind of a different type of ICU nurse. So that part is awesome. Another thing I want to talk to you about is in the ICU, part of my training program is to do online training with a program called Elsevier. So it's a training program where there are different online modules that I have to do, and it's like a competency checkoff sheet. That replaced the competency checkoff sheet. So instead of having a paper where it says, does the person or staff member, are they competent in taking care of a patient who's mechanically vented, and you have to check that. They've done away with that at our hospital, and it's more clinical Elsevier online module type of training. So if you're a visual learner like that, obviously you're going to do that and hands-on with a real patient, but it gives you kind of different types of training. The other thing that I have to do is called ECHO. So that is through the AACN, and it stands for Essentials of Critical Care Orientation. So I have to do both the adult and the pediatric modules, and that right there, that it's arduous training. There's a lot, but it's a program that the military pays for new ICU nurses to train with in order to make them more competent ICU nurses. So nothing, of course, in my opinion, takes the place of actually working with patients. However, when you have those types of training sessions, modules, anything like that to help you, then I'm all about that. So yeah, I'm working in the ICU, loving it so far. It has its challenges, but overall, I adore it so far. So if you have any questions about ICU, critical care, or just in general nursing in the Navy, please keep giving me your comments. I'm loving all the comments and the ideas for videos, and also your feedback. I want to know what your questions are and how I can help you. So as always, thank you so much for watching the channel, and I will see you all soon in the next video.